Imagine discovering that your son, whom you have watched grow and adore, is destined for something much greater than everyday life. That's exactly what Antonia Salzano, Carlo Acutis' mother, experienced. A prophetic dream, as unexpected as it was unsettling, shook her life and transformed her faith forever. In this dream, Saint Francis of Assisi, the saint who has touched souls throughout the centuries, appeared to reveal a shocking truth. Carlo had a divine mission, a mission that, as his mother, she must accept with courage and devotion. How can one accept such a revelation without being overwhelmed by emotion? It's a challenge that only deep faith can overcome. Antonia Salzano shares stories that go beyond the ordinary, revealing a faith that transcends the limits of what's visible. She speaks of dreams that many might consider mere products of the imagination. But for her, they are divine touches, confirmations that her son, even after his departure, continues to guide and comfort her. These dreams aren't simple nighttime visions. They are revitalizing spiritual encounters, experiences that offer a comfort only spirituality can provide. How powerful must these visions be to impact so deeply? One of the most significant moments for Antonia was a dream where Carlo appeared, surrounded by saints, radiating a peace that can only be found in the presence of God. For her, this dream was a confirmation of Carlo's holiness, something already perceived by those who knew him. These nightly experiences have strengthened her conviction that faith is a bridge between our world and the heavenly one, a bond that remains intact, even in the face of death. But what does this celestial bond reveal about our own faith? These revelations also helped Antonia understand that Carlo had always been in harmony with heaven and, from a young age, had a larger mission. She sees in these dreams a message for all. Faith and prayer connect us to something much greater. These stories aren't just stories. They are living testimonies that inspire and renew our spirituality, guiding us toward a deeper understanding of the signs from above. What other unexpected revelations could illuminate our own spiritual journey? Antonia Salzano lived moments where the divine manifested through dreams that seemed like direct messages from heaven. In one of these experiences, she saw Saint Francis of Assisi, whose presence was so palpable it felt as if he was by her side. This dream didn't just comfort her, it also revealed the spiritual significance of Carlo, as if his grand destiny had already been foretold. How can such a message influence our perception of faith? Another dream that deeply marked Antonia was the one in which a soft but firm voice announced that her son would leave soon. This dream was one of those moments that make us question the reality and mystery of life and death. For Antonia, it was as if heaven was preparing her heart for the inevitable, showing that even in the most painful situations, faith can give us the strength to accept what seems unacceptable. What other mystical signs could prepare our hearts for the inevitable? These prophetic dreams weren't just omens. They were true spiritual guides that helped Antonia face the loss with a surprising serenity. They also serve as a reminder to all of us. It's crucial to be attentive to the signs God sends us, as they often arrive in unexpected forms, such as dreams, to guide us on our journey of faith. How can these signs transform our own spiritual path? Carlo Acutis faced his terminal illness with a serenity that amazed everyone around him. To him, death wasn't an end, but a return to the Father's house, where he believed he would find eternal peace. His unwavering faith allowed him to face every challenge with a spiritual maturity rare for someone so young. Carlo knew his life was in God's hands, and this deep trust allowed him to accept what many fear, the transition to eternity. What lessons can we learn from his faith to face our own challenges? During the final days of his life, Carlo Acutis displayed a faith that transcended human understanding. He didn't lament his illness. On the contrary, he saw it as an opportunity to draw even closer to Jesus Christ, whom he loved so dearly. Carlo was convinced that his mission on earth was coming to an end, but something much greater awaited him in heaven. His serenity wasn't a sign of resignation, but of a living faith that assured him his life, though brief in the eyes of the world, was complete in the eyes of God. This legacy is fascinating because his bravery in the face of death continues to inspire young Christians around the world. He showed that even in the most difficult situations, faith can give us the strength to accept what we cannot change. His example is a powerful demonstration of how God's love can turn the darkest moments into light and hope. Here is where the story becomes even more intriguing. Carlo felt deeply connected to Saint Francis of Assisi, whose devotion to life and God also guided him until his final days. Carlo Acutis felt a deep connection with Saint Francis of Assisi, a bond that went beyond simple admiration. From a young age, Carlo found immense inspiration in Saint Francis' unconditional love for all creatures and his dedication to simplicity and humility. This spiritual connection manifested in Carlo's daily actions, as, like Saint Francis, he sought to live a life of service and love for others, always with his eyes set on heaven. But how did this connection influence his daily actions? This bond wasn't merely symbolic. Carlo felt that he shared a vocation with Saint Francis to bring the light of the gospel to the world, especially in a time when faith seemed to be weakening among the youth. Carlo saw in Saint Francis the perfect model of Christian life, someone who had renounced everything to follow Jesus Christ. This total devotion to God's will was what Carlo sought in his own spiritual journey, seeing Saint Francis as a true guide. And this raises a fascinating question. How did this inspiration shape his own view of the Christian life? It's interesting to note that, even after his death, many view Carlo as a kind of Saint Francis of modern times. His simplicity, deep faith, and love for creation reflect this spiritual connection that transcends generations. Carlo Acutis, just like Saint Francis, demonstrated that holiness is not distant. It can be found in a life lived with love, faith, and devotion to God. This spiritual bond was one of the pillars that supported Carlo on his path, preparing him for the next step toward sainthood. What other spiritual connections influenced his life? The canonization of Carlo Acutis was a key step that solidified his path of faith and service as an example for the entire Church. The process, which began shortly after his death, was backed by numerous testimonies from young Christians and faithful who claimed to have received graces through his intercession. The miracles attributed to Carlo were carefully examined by the Church, and his holiness was confirmed beyond question, proving that his life, though short, was truly holy. But what impact did these miracles have on the faith of believers? One of the most notable miracles that led to his canonization was the inexplicable healing of a girl in Brazil, attributed to Carlo's intercession. This event not only strengthened the faith of many, but it also highlighted the power of prayer and devotion to a young man who lived so purely and dedicatedly to the gospel. Carlo Acutis' canonization wasn't just an official recognition of his holiness. It was an invitation for young people worldwide to follow his example of Christian living. How did young people react after this event? The canonization ceremony, which brought together people from all over the world, was a moment of great emotion and faith. Carlo was declared a saint, and his life became a beacon for all who seek to live with integrity and dedication. From that moment on, Carlo Acutis ceased to be just a devout young man and became an intercessor in heaven, someone we can all turn to in times of spiritual need. And so, his mother, Antonia Salzano, witnessed how her son's legacy flourished, leading her to continue the mission he had begun in life. How did Antonia continue this mission? After Carlo Acutis' death, Antonia Salzano found the strength in her faith to continue the spiritual mission her son had started. She committed herself to carrying on his work and spreading his message of faith and love while advancing the cause for her son to become a role model for future generations. It's a story of perseverance and deep faith that continues to inspire and guide those seeking to follow Carlo's example. Antonia, determined to keep Carlo's legacy alive, founded an organization dedicated to promoting the spirituality and Christian values that he so cherished. This foundation not only preserves Carlo's memory, but also serves as a platform for social and religious projects aimed at spreading the gospel, especially among young people. But what makes this initiative even more fascinating is how Antonia, inspired by her son's life, has devoted herself to organizing events, conferences, and initiatives that encourage the practice of faith and prayer, core elements in Carlo's life. One of the main goals of the foundation is to strengthen the faith of young people, promoting Bible studies and testimonies of faith that help cultivate a living and authentic spirituality. Antonia's mission is clear: to continue the work Carlo began, bringing the light of the gospel to every corner. However, how does she plan to reach this goal, and what are the next steps for the foundation? Antonia Salzano's work has been widely recognized by the Christian community, and her devotion has inspired many to become involved in charity and evangelization. The mission she embraced after Carlo's loss is a powerful example of how faith can transform pain into service to others. Through her foundation, Antonia ensures that Carlo's message, that each of us is called to holiness, continues to resonate, touching hearts and changing lives. The question now is, how does Carlo's message continue to impact the new generations? Carlo Acutis' life and death had a profound and transformative impact on his local community, parishes, and schools, reflected in various community projects that continue to thrive. In his hometown of Milan, Carlo was not just a devout young man. He was a source of inspiration and a central figure in many religious activities. His devotion to faith and his ability to integrate spirituality into every aspect of his life left an indelible mark on the hearts of those who knew him. After his death, Carlo's influence manifested powerfully. Local parishes mobilized to honor his memory, creating spaces dedicated to his life and teachings. Many churches began organizing events and gatherings for young people, inspired by Carlo's example. He became a model of active and practical faith, and his life became a point of reference for young people seeking to live their spirituality in a more concrete and engaging way. How have these actions shaped the spiritual life of the community? Additionally, community projects began to emerge as a natural extension of Carlo's legacy. Initiatives to help the needy, food drives, and charitable events started to proliferate, all inspired by the spirit of service and love that Carlo embodied. The foundation in Carlo's honor, created by his mother, Antonia Salzano, played a crucial role in coordinating these projects, offering support and resources for various causes. Carlo's ongoing presence, even after his death, has become a catalyst for a more united and spiritually active community. But what more can we expect from this committed community? Carlo Acutis' canonization was a significant process that involved the confirmation of miracles attributed to his intercession, reflecting the depth of his holiness and the ongoing impact of his life within the Church. One of the most notable miracles that led to his canonization occurred in Brazil, where a girl was inexplicably cured from a serious condition after a prayer asking for Carlo's intercession. This miracle not only piqued the Church's interest but also provided tangible proof of Carlo's continued presence in heaven and his ability to intercede for those seeking divine help. How was the investigation of these miracles carried out? The investigation into these miracles was meticulous and detailed. The Catholic Church has a rigorous verification process to ensure that miracles attributed to a candidate for sainthood are authentic and cannot be explained by natural causes. Doctors and specialists were called upon to examine the cases and confirm the absence of scientific or natural explanations for these healings. What else did the investigation reveal about the canonization process? The process for Carlo Acutis' canonization involved an exhaustive review of testimonies, medical documents, and scientific studies, culminating in the confirmation that the healings were truly miraculous. In addition to the miracle in Brazil, other testimonies and cases of intercession attributed to Carlo were considered, which further reinforced the conviction that his life was a true example of holiness. The official approval by the Church not only celebrated Carlo's life, but also established a standard of faith and devotion that continues to inspire many people around the world. How has this canonization transformed our perception of holiness and faith? Carlo Acutis is a true example of how holiness can be achieved through the simplest and most ordinary actions. He lived his faith so genuinely that, even in his youth, he left a profound impact on all who knew him. Carlo demonstrated that love for Jesus Christ and commitment to spirituality are not reserved only for monks and ancient saints, but are accessible to each of us, no matter our age or circumstances. His way of living, always willing to help others and full of devotion, is proof that holiness is found in the small things we do every day. What other lessons can we draw from his life? Carlo's life invites us to reflect on how we live our faith. He didn't just talk about God's love, he lived it in every gesture, whether helping his classmates or defending Christian values on social media. Carlo was a young man like many others, but his devotion to prayer, Bible study, and active participation in the church made him a living example of what it means to follow Jesus Christ. He reminds us that true faith isn't hidden, it shines through our actions, transforming the world around us. How can we integrate this inspiration into our daily lives? Looking at Carlo's example, we feel motivated to seek the same holiness in our lives. We don't need to make grand gestures to be saints. We can start with small acts of love and service, just like Carlo. His testimony invites us to review our priorities and place God first, not only in our words but also in the daily decisions we make. And by following his example, we are invited to ask for Carlo's intercession, trusting that he, now in heaven, continues to guide us on the path of faith and spirituality. What steps can we take to follow his example? Following Carlo Acutis' example, each one of us is called to pursue a life of faith, love, and service. Carlo showed us that holiness is a path that is possible, accessible to all who sincerely and dedicatedly wish to follow Jesus Christ. Now, as a saint intercessor in heaven, Carlo is always ready to hear our prayers and help us in our spiritual needs. Asking for the intercession of Saint Carlo Acutis is more than just a devotional practice. It is an act of faith that connects us to a young saint who fully lived the gospel. How can we make this connection meaningful in our daily lives? Reflecting on Carlo's life, we are invited to examine our conscience. Do we live our faith with the same intensity and love that he demonstrated? Carlo inspires us to embrace spirituality in our everyday lives, to be living examples of Christianity to others, especially to the youth who are seeking deeper meaning in their lives. Asking for Carlo's intercession is a reminder that holiness is a shared journey, supported by the communion of saints. What changes could we make to follow this path? This is an invitation for all who read these words to join in prayer, asking for the intercession of Saint Carlo Acutis to help us follow his example of Christian life. May, like him, we find in Jesus Christ the strength to face life's challenges with faith, joy, and hope. By drawing inspiration from Carlo, we are called to make the gospel the center of our lives, living each day with an open heart to love and serve God and our neighbors. How will this transform the way we live?